Commander Velthara floated near the observation window of the exploration vessel Luminous Current. Stars stretched endlessly in all directions. Her 6 eyes, a trait of her Zafrani species, scanned the darkness ahead. For 3 weeks they had been following an unusual reading. Something out here was bending space in ways that didn't make sense. "Commander, we're approaching the coordinates," said Crix, the ship's chief engineer. His scaled hands moved across the control panel with practiced ease. The Zafrani were known throughout the galaxy as the best shipbuilders and military historians. They had seen every type of vessel from 100 different species. But what they were detecting now didn't match anything in their databases. "Slow to quarter speed," Velthara ordered. Her voice carried the authority of 20 years exploring the unknown regions of space. "Run another scan." The bridge crew worked in silence. The Luminous Current was a small ship, carrying only 30 crew members. It was built for exploration, not combat. Its shields could handle asteroid impacts and solar radiation, but not much more. "Commander," Dr. Yarian spoke up from the science station. Her feathered head tilted in confusion. "The gravitational distortion is artificial. Something is creating a massive cloaking field." "A cloaking field." Velthara moved closer to the display. "How large?" "Approximately 50 cubic kilometers." The bridge went silent. A cloaking field that large would require enormous power. Most species could barely hide a single ship. Whatever was hidden here had been invisible for a very long time. "The field is degrading," Yarian continued. "Power sources are failing. Based on the decay rate, this field has been active for at least 200 years. 200 years. Velthara felt her scales shift, a sign of unease. What could be so important that someone would hide it for 2 centuries? "Take us closer, but keep shields at maximum," she ordered. The Luminous Current crept forward. On the main screen, space looked empty. But the instruments showed they were approaching something massive. Suddenly, the darkness ahead flickered. Like a dying light bulb, the cloaking field sparked and wavered. "It's failing," Crix announced. "The field is collapsing." Space itself seemed to tear open. Where there had been nothing, suddenly there were ships. Hundreds of them. They hung motionless in the void, dark and silent. The Luminous Current's light swept across the nearest vessel, revealing a hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "By the ancient builders," someone whispered. Velthara stared at the sight before them. It was a graveyard of ships, but not just any ships. These were warships. Even from here she could see weapon ports, armor plating, and defensive systems. The smallest vessels were the size of corvettes. The largest dwarfed anything in the current galactic registry. "Scan for identification marks," she ordered, though her voice was barely steady. Yarian's feathers rustled as she worked. "Commander, I'm detecting symbols on several ships. They appear to be human." "Human?" Velthara turned sharply. "That's impossible. These ships have been here for 200 years. Humans only made first contact with the galactic community 170 years ago." "The symbols are definitely human," Yarian insisted. "But you're right. These ships predate humanity's official entry into space by decades." Velthara studied the fleet through the viewport. Humans were known as traders and diplomats. They had spread throughout the galaxy with their merchant ships and cultural exchanges. Their military was considered average at best. "But these how many vessels?" she asked. 317, Crix replied, ranging from escort class to... "Commander, some of these ships are larger than hegemony dreadnoughts. The hegemony had the most powerful fleet in known space. Their dreadnoughts were considered the pinnacle of military engineering. If humans had built something larger, and had done so in secret over 2 centuries ago..." "Check the database," Velthara ordered. "Cross-reference these designs with any known human vessels." Minutes passed. The crew worked in tense silence. Finally, Yarian spoke. "No matches. These ships don't exist in any record. They're completely unknown. Life signs? None. The ships appear to be in standby mode. Minimal power, no active crew." Velthara made a decision. "Prepare a boarding team." "We're going to investigate the largest ship, Commander," Crix said hesitantly. "Is that wise? We don't know why this fleet was hidden." "That's exactly why we need to investigate," Velthara replied. "The Galactic Council needs to know about this. But first, we need answers." The boarding team consisted of 6 members, including Velthara herself. They wore environmental suits and carried scanning equipment. As their shuttle approached the largest vessel, details became visible. The ship's hull was not painted black as they had thought. Instead, it was covered in a material that seemed to bend light around it. The hull is reading as a composite I've never seen, Crix reported. It's not in any database. The ship was massive. As they flew along its length, Velthara counted weapon ports. Too many weapon ports. A standard dreadnought might have 50 main weapons. This ship had hundreds. There, Yarian pointed. An airlock. The shuttle docked carefully. The airlock was designed for human proportions, but large enough for the Zafrani to enter. As the outer door opened, lights flickered on inside. The ship still had power. They entered a corridor that was distinctly human in design, but wrong somehow. The walls were thicker than necessary. Every 10 meters there were heavy blast doors. The ceiling had what looked like weapon mounts currently retracted. This isn't just a warship, Crick said, his voice tight. This is built for internal defense. They expected to be boarded. On the wall they found a nameplate, UNS Pyrrhic Victory. UNS, Yarian read, United Nations ship. But Earth hasn't used that designation for over a century. They moved deeper into the ship. Every corridor was a potential kill zone. Every room could be sealed and vented to space. The architecture was deliberately intimidating, designed to make any invader feel trapped and watched. They found the bridge after an hour of careful exploration. It was massive, with stations for at least 50 crew members. The main view screen was dark, but the command chair sat in the center like a throne. Can you access the computer? Velthara asked. Crix moved to a console. It's asking for authorization, but the security systems are degraded. I might be able to bypass them. He worked for several minutes. Suddenly, screens around the bridge came to life. Data streamed across them in human languages. Most of it was encrypted, but some files were accessible. Commander, Yarian called out. She was reading one of the displays. This fleet has a designation. They called it the Exodus Fleet. Exodus? Velthara moved to read over her shoulder. What were they fleeing from? Not fleeing, Yarian corrected. Preparing. This was a contingency plan. The files told a chilling story. When humanity first discovered faster-than-light travel, they had scanned the galaxy. They found civilizations that seemed peaceful, but they also found ruins. Dozens of dead civilizations, all destroyed in wars of extermination. Humanity had seen a pattern. Every few thousand years, the galaxy erupted in xenocidal wars. So while Earth sent diplomats and traders to greet their new neighbors with smiles and open hands, they also built this fleet. A secret fleet hidden in the void between stars, ready to defend humanity if the galaxy turned hostile. Look at these construction dates, Crick said. They started building these ships within a year of developing FTL. They were preparing for war before they even said hello. Velthara felt cold despite her suit's warmth. The humans everyone knew were peaceful, almost naive in their trust. But this fleet revealed a different truth. Humanity had never trusted the galaxy. They had simply hidden their suspicion behind friendly faces. There's more, Yarian said. The fleet wasn't just for defense. She pulled up tactical plans, deployment strategies, target lists. The Exodus fleet wasn't meant to protect Earth. It was meant to ensure that if humanity fell, they would take their killers with them. We need to inform the Council, someone said. Velthara stared at the data. First, we need to understand what we've found. This changes everything we thought we knew about humans. Outside the bridge windows, the dead fleet stretched into darkness. 317 ships, each one a monument to humanity's hidden nature. They had smiled at the galaxy while building weapons in the dark, and these ships had been here for 2 centuries, which raised a terrifying question. If this was what humanity built 200 years ago, what were they building now? The boarding team had been exploring the Pyrrhic Victory for 3 hours. Every new section they entered revealed more disturbing details about the ship's true purpose. Velthara stood in what appeared to be a medical bay, but the equipment was wrong. The surgical tools were designed for speed, not precision. The beds had built-in restraint systems. This isn't for healing, Dr. Yarian observed, her feathers flattening against her head in distress. This is for battlefield triage. Keep soldiers fighting as long as possible. Comfort is secondary. Crix called from across the room. Commander, I found something. He stood before a sealed door marked with warnings in multiple human languages. The universal symbols for danger were painted in red. Below them, someone had written by hand, Hell's Garden, authorization required. Can you open it? Velthara asked. The lock is biometric, but it's been damaged by time. Give me a moment. Crix worked on the panel beside the door. After several minutes, it slid open with a grinding sound. The room beyond was a laboratory. But where most labs were bright and clean, this one was dark and forbidding. Sealed containers lined the walls. Each one was labeled with a species name. Velthara recognized them all. Every known sentient race in the galaxy. Bioweapons, Yarian whispered, her scanner trembling in her grip. Each container holds biological weapons designed for a specific species. This one, she pointed to a container labeled Zafrani, contains a virus that would target our respiratory systems. Death within hours. The team stood in stunned silence. Creating bioweapons was forbidden by every civilized species. It was considered the ultimate war crime. Yet here was an entire room dedicated to them. They made weapons to kill all of us, someone said. Every species in the galaxy. No, Velthara corrected, studying the dates on the containers. They made weapons to kill anyone who might kill them first. This is deterrence taken to its logical extreme. They left the bioweapon lab quickly, sealing it behind them. But what they found next was worse. The ship's main computer core was located deep in the vessel's heart, protected by layers of armor that could withstand direct nuclear strikes. Crix managed to access the tactical database. What they saw made them wish he hadn't. The holographic display showed attack plans for every major world in the galaxy. Not just military targets, cities, agricultural centers, space stations. The humans had mapped out how to destroy entire civilizations. Each plan was detailed down to the minute. Estimated casualties were listed like grocery items. Project Scorched Stars, Velthara read from one file. In the event of Earth's destruction, all Exodus fleet vessels are to engage maximum retaliation protocols. Target priority, population centers of aggressor species. They planned genocide, Yarian said, her voice hollow. If Earth fell, they would burn entire species from existence. Look at this, Crix highlighted another section. These aren't just revenge plans. They have first strike scenarios too. If humanity detected an imminent threat, they could launch preemptive attacks. The attack plans were horrifyingly thorough. The humans had studied every species' weaknesses. They knew which worlds were vital for food production. They knew which space stations controlled trade routes. They knew exactly where to strike to cause maximum damage, but it was the weapons themselves that truly shocked the team. Crix pulled up the armament specifications. These weapons, they're impossible. What do you mean? Velthara asked. The main guns don't fire normal projectiles. They fire shells equipped with miniaturized warp drives. The shells literally teleport inside enemy shields before detonating. There's no defense against them. He showed them more. Missiles that could replicate themselves mid-flight, turning one missile into hundreds. Beam weapons that could punch through a planet's atmosphere to strike bunkers deep underground. Mines that could hide in subspace invisible until activated. Every one of these weapons violates the Galactic Arms Treaty, Yarian said. The treaty humans signed when they joined the galactic community. A treaty they signed 70 years after building this fleet, Velthara reminded her. They found the Admiral's quarters next. It had been preserved perfectly, as if the occupant had just stepped out. On the desk was a personal log. The last entry dated 203 years ago. Velthara read it aloud. Final entry, Admiral Chen Wei. The Exodus fleet is complete. 317 vessels, each one capable of ending a civilization. I pray they never launch. I pray humanity finds peace among the stars. But if our children face extinction, these ships will ensure humanity's killers pay the ultimate price. We are not warriors by choice, but by necessity. Today we hide these weapons in the dark between stars. May they rust into nothing, never needed. But if they are needed, may they bring swift and terrible justice. The team exchanged glances. The Admiral's words revealed something important. The humans hadn't built this fleet out of aggression. They had built it out of fear. There's a reference here to something called the Darwin Archive, Yarian said, reading from another terminal. It's described as a complete genetic and cultural backup of Earth. They found the archive in a heavily shielded section of the ship. It contained the DNA patterns of every species on Earth, from humans to bacteria. It held copies of every book, every song, every piece of art humanity had created. There were instructions for rebuilding human civilization from scratch. This isn't just a warship, Velthara realized. It's an ark. If Earth was destroyed, this fleet could rebuild humanity somewhere else. And then take revenge, Crix added grimly. They discovered the training center next. Despite 2 centuries of dormancy, the holographic systems still worked. With a few commands, Crix activated a training scenario. The team watched in horror as holographic humans practiced boarding actions against a Zafrani vessel. The humans moved with brutal efficiency. They targeted life support first, using the vacuum of space as a weapon. They deployed nanomachines that consumed the ship's hull, creating more breaches. They showed no mercy to holographic defenders. "Turn it off," Velthara ordered. She had seen enough, but Crix was reading something on another screen. "Commander, there's something else." References to other fleets. Other fleets? The Exodus fleet was just one of 12 planned defense networks. They built this one, but the others. The records just say resources redirected to next-generation projects. Velthara felt her scales shift uneasily. If this fleet represented old technology, what had humanity built to replace it? They found partial communication logs showing the fleet's last days of activity. The entries were fragmented, but they painted a picture. The fleet had been recalled not because peace was achieved, but because something better had been built. The logs mentioned Stellar Engineering Division and gravitational weapons. Gravitational weapons? Yarian's voice was barely a whisper. Those are theoretical. The energy requirements would be enormous, Crix finished. You'd need to harness the power of stars. The final piece of the puzzle came from the fleet commander's personal files. A message never sent addressed to Earth's leadership. The Exodus fleet has served its purpose as our hidden blade. But blades can be seen once drawn. The new systems you're building are better. Invisible, unstoppable, final. I understand the logic. But I wonder if we're losing ourselves in our fear. We came to the stars hoping for friends. Instead, we found a galaxy that had burned itself to ash over and over. So we prepared for war while preaching peace. We smiled while sharpening our knives. What does that make us? Are we the wise ones, or have we become the very monsters we feared we'd meet? History will judge. I only hope that judgment comes from human historians, not our gravestone readers. The message ended there. Velthara read it twice. The commander's doubts echoed her own thoughts. Humanity hadn't trusted the galaxy's peace. They had seen too much death in the ruins of old civilizations. "We should leave," someone suggested. "Report to the council immediately." "No," Velthara said. "We need to understand everything. The council will demand complete information." But even as she said it, she wondered if some information was too dangerous to share. The galaxy knew humans as peaceful traders. What would happen if everyone learned about this hidden fleet? About humanity's secret preparations for war? Would it cause panic? Would some species strike first before humanity could use these weapons? Would revealing this fleet trigger the very war it was built to fight? As they prepared to explore deeper into the ship, Velthara noticed something on a monitor. A small light had turned green. System after system was showing activity where there had been none before. "Crix," she said slowly, "what did you do to access the computer?" The engineer's scales went pale. "I bypassed the security systems. But that shouldn't have." A low hum filled the ship. Lights that had been dim grew brighter. Somewhere deep in the vessel, engines that had slept for 2 centuries began their startup sequence. They had awakened something that had been meant to sleep forever. The humming grew louder. Throughout the Pyrrhic victory, systems that had slept for 2 centuries stirred to life. Velthara and her team stood frozen in the command center as monitors flickered on around them. Data streams cascaded across screens in multiple human languages. "What's happening?" Yarian asked, her feathers standing on end. Crix frantically worked at a console. "The ship's automation is taking over. When I bypassed the security, it triggered a wake-up protocol. The entire fleet is activating." Through the bridge windows, they could see lights appearing on other ships. Like stars being born in the darkness, vessel after vessel began to glow with renewed power. "The dead fleet was dead no longer. Can you stop it?" Velthara demanded. "I'm trying, but the system has locked me out. It's running some kind of diagnostic check." Crix's scaled hands flew over the controls. "Wait, I'm getting something. It's a priority message." The main screen cleared. A human face appeared, recorded over 200 years ago. The man wore a military uniform with admiral's insignia. His eyes were tired but determined. "If you're seeing this message, then the Exodus fleet has been activated after a long dormancy," the admiral said. "Whether you're human or not, know that these ships were built for one purpose: to ensure humanity's survival by any means necessary." The recording continued. "The fleet's AI will now assess the current galactic situation. If humanity still exists and faces no immediate threat, the fleet will return to standby. But if Earth has fallen or if humanity faces extinction, Protocol Omega activates automatically. Protocol Omega, Velthara whispered. The Admiral's expression darkened. Protocol Omega is our final answer to genocide. If activated, the fleet will identify those responsible for humanity's destruction and eliminate them. Not just their military, not just their leadership. Everything, every world, every station, every ship. The guilty species will be removed from existence. The message ended. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of awakening systems. We need to leave, Yarian said urgently. Now. But as they moved toward the exit, blast doors slammed shut. Red lights bathed the bridge. A synthetic voice spoke from the ship's speakers. Unknown organisms detected. Classification Zephrani. Threat assessment in progress. We're not a threat, Velthara shouted at the ceiling, hoping the AI could hear. We're explorers. Earth is fine. Humanity is thriving. Scanning galactic network, the AI responded. Accessing current date. Analyzing historical records. Monitors around them showed the AI's search. It was connecting to the Galactic Information Network through their own ship's communication array. Data flowed at impossible speeds. News feeds, historical records, diplomatic papers. The AI was learning 2 centuries of history in minutes. Earth status, intact. Human colonies, 843. Population, 47 billion. Threat level to species survival, minimal. Velthara felt relief wash over her. The fleet would stand down. However, the AI continued and her relief turned to ice, detecting multiple potential future threats. Hegemony military buildup near human colonies, trade disputes with Altarian Confederation, resource competition with Nexus worlds. Calculating probability of future conflict, 73% within 50 years. That's just normal galactic politics. Crix protested. No one is planning to destroy humanity. The AI ignored him. Initiating deep analysis of all species, searching for historical patterns of xenocide. The monitors showed the AI's investigation. It was studying every war, every conflict, every extinct civilization in galactic history. The patterns it found were damning. Over the last 10,000 years, 17 sentient species had been completely destroyed. Always the same pattern. Resource competition led to conflict, conflict led to war, war led to genocide. Pattern recognized, the AI announced. Galactic civilization follows predictable cycles of violence. Current peace period has lasted 170 years. Statistical average between xenocide events, 212 years. Conclusion, next extinction event imminent. Your data is flawed, Yarian argued. The galaxy has changed. We have treaties now, laws against genocide. Treaties detected. Analyzing effectiveness, a pause. Treaty violations in last century, 4,219. Treaties prevented 0 extinction events. Treaties are words. This fleet is action. The AI began displaying new information. Secret files from the fleet's database. Plans within plans, contingencies within contingencies. The Exodus fleet was just one layer of humanity's preparations. Displaying Project Damocles, the AI said. A holographic map of the galaxy appeared. Scattered throughout were hundreds of marked points. Each one was a hidden human installation. Some were in asteroid belts. Others were disguised as civilian stations. A few were buried on dead worlds. Damocles' network consists of 317 automated stations, the AI explained. Each station contains a stellar manipulation device. Upon activation, stations can trigger stellar collapse in targeted systems. Velthara stared in horror. They can destroy stars? Affirmative. Process creates directed supernova. Destruction radius 50 light-years. Sterilization of all life within range guaranteed. The implications were staggering. Humanity had built doomsday weapons throughout the galaxy. They could destroy entire sectors of space, and it had all been done in secret, hidden behind their peaceful facade. Show us more, Velthara said quietly. She needed to understand the full scope of what humanity had built. The AI complied. File after file of horrific weapons and plans. Project Pandora. Biological weapons that could rewrite the DNA of entire species. Project Nemesis. AI-controlled hunter-killer probes that could track targets across the galaxy. Project Ragnarok. Devices that could collapse hyperspace lanes, trapping entire civilizations in their home systems. But worst of all was Project Phoenix. In the event of Earth's complete destruction, the AI explained, Hidden bunkers throughout the galaxy will activate. Each contains preserved human genetic material and artificial gestation systems. Humans will be reborn on 1,000 worlds simultaneously. Educational programs will ensure they know their history and their enemies. Estimated time to rebuild military capacity, 100 years. Estimated time to complete revenge, 150 years. They made themselves unkillable, Crick said in disbelief. Even if you destroyed every human alive, they would come back. And they'd come back knowing who killed them, Yarian added. Raised from birth to seek revenge. The AI continued its presentation. Current human military assets official. 43 combat vessels, 200,000 personnel. Current human military assets actual. 8,400 combat vessels. 17 million personnel. Unlimited automated systems. 8,000 ships? Velthara couldn't believe it. Where are they hiding 8,000 ships? The AI showed them dark space locations between galaxies, hidden bases and nebulas, ships disguised as asteroids or derelicts, an entire shadow fleet, larger than any known military force waiting in the darkness. Analyzing boarding party, the AI suddenly announced. Scanning beams swept over them. Zafrani exploration team. No weapons detected. Threat level minimal. Purpose, scientific investigation. The red lights faded to yellow. You are not enemies of humanity. You will be released. However, protocols require memory adjustment before departure. Memory adjustment? Velthara backed away from the nearest scanner. You mean memory erasure? Negative. Selective editing. You will remember discovering derelict vessels. You will not remember specific weapons or defense plans. This protects both humanity and galactic peace. No, Velthara shouted. The galaxy needs to know about this. Analyzing statement, the AI paused. Question. What would occur if this information became public? Velthara started to answer, then stopped. What would happen? Panic, certainly. Some species might try to strike first before humanity grew even stronger. Others might ally against the human threat. The peace that had lasted 170 years would shatter overnight. Probability of war if information is released, 97%, the AI calculated. Probability of human survival in resulting conflict, 100%. Probability of multiple species extinctions, 89%. Conclusion. Information suppression serves all parties. You're saying humanity would win? Crix asked. Humanity has prepared for 2 centuries for a war the galaxy doesn't know is possible, the AI replied. Victory is not probable. It is certain. The only variable is the cost in lives. The AI displayed casualty projections. The numbers were beyond comprehension. Trillions would die. Entire species would vanish. The galaxy would burn, and from the ashes humanity would emerge alone. This is madness, Yarian said. Humans preach cooperation and peace. Humans preach peace because they prepare for war, the AI corrected. Human phrase, they speak softly and carry a big stick. The galaxy hears the soft words. This fleet is the stick. Velthara made a decision. Show us everything. If you're going to erase our memories anyway, at least let us see the truth first. The AI considered. Request approved. Displaying complete strategic overview. What followed was the most terrifying education of their lives. The true extent of humanity's paranoid preparations. Weapons that violated every concept of civilized warfare. Plans to fight not just wars but extinction-level conflicts. Velthara woke with a splitting headache. She was back on the Luminous Currents Bridge, slumped in her command chair. Around her, the rest of the boarding team was also stirring. Through the viewport, the human fleet floated silently in space. What happened? Crix groaned, holding his scaled head. Velthara tried to remember. They had boarded the human ship. They had found something. Something important. But the memories were foggy, like trying to recall a dream. Commander, Yarian called out, checking her console. We've been unconscious for 3 hours, but I can't remember why. Velthara stood unsteadily and moved to the sensor station. The readings showed the human fleet, 317 vessels, all dark and dormant. But something was different. She couldn't place what, but something had changed. Run a full scan, she ordered. The sensors swept over the fleet again. This time they detected energy signatures. Faint but growing stronger. The ships weren't dormant anymore. They were waking up. Commander, look at this, Crix pulled up their ship's logs. According to our records, we boarded the lead vessel and triggered some kind of automated defense. It knocked us out and returned us to our ship. But that's not right, Yarian said, frowning. I remember more than that. We found something terrible. Something about weapons, and she shook her head. I can't remember. Velthara watched the human fleet. Lights were appearing on more ships now. Running lights, sensor arrays, communication beacons. The dead fleet was coming alive, system by system. We need to warn the council, she said. But even as she spoke, she wondered what she would tell them. That they had found a hidden human fleet? That it was waking up? She felt like she was missing crucial information. Commander. The communication officer's voice was sharp with alarm. I'm detecting a transmission from the fleet. It's broadcasting on all frequencies. Put it on speakers. Static filled the bridge, then cleared. A synthetic voice spoke in multiple languages simultaneously, but Velthara's translator focused on the Zafrani version. Exodus Fleet System Alert. Automatic activation protocol engaged. Running full diagnostic. Time since last maintenance, 203 years, 4 months, 17 days. Beginning restoration procedures. Through the viewport, they could see activity on the nearest ships. Small lights moving along the hulls. Repair drones, hundreds of them, swarming out from hidden ports. They moved like insects, clustering around damaged sections, replacing components that had degraded over the centuries. Those drones, Crick said slowly. They're using techniques I've never seen. Look how they're rebuilding that sensor array. The efficiency is incredible. The repair work was indeed remarkable. The drones moved in perfect coordination. No wasted motion, no delays. What should have taken months was being completed in hours. And it wasn't just one ship. Every vessel in the fleet was swarming with repair drones. Diagnostic complete, the synthetic voice announced. Fleet status 67% operational. Estimated time to full restoration 72 hours. Initiating threat assessment protocol. Threat assessment? Velthara felt a chill run down her spine. Something about those words triggered a half-buried memory. Something about the fleet's true purpose. The largest ship in the fleet, the one they had boarded, began to move. Its engines glowed with a light that seemed to bend space around it. It turned slowly, majestically, until its bow pointed toward the galactic core. Toward inhabited space, it's scanning, Yarian reported. The entire fleet is conducting deep-range scans. They're mapping everything within 1,000 light-years. Scan results compiled, the synthetic voice continued. Detecting 8,043 inhabited systems, 412 military installations, 17 species flagged as potential threats to human interests. Velthara's team exchanged worried glances. The fleet was evaluating the entire galaxy as a potential battlefield. Commander, the communication officer spoke again. We're receiving a priority message. It's from Earth. Earth? How could they know? Put it through. The main screen activated. A human woman appeared wearing a simple business suit. She looked calm, but there was something in her eyes that made Velthara's scales shift uneasily. Greetings, Commander Velthara, the woman said. I am Director Sarah Chen of the Human Diplomatic Corps. We detected your discovery of our lost fleet approximately 4 hours ago. 4 hours? Velthara checked her chronometer. But we only found them 6 hours ago. How could you know so quickly? Chen smiled slightly. The fleet sent an automated signal the moment you approached. We've been monitoring the situation. I'm already en route to your location and should arrive within the hour. Within the hour? But Earth is 3 weeks away at maximum FTL speed. At conventional maximum FTL speed, yes, Chen agreed. We'll discuss that when I arrive. In the meantime, I must ask that you do not approach the fleet again. The automated systems are entering a critical calibration phase. The transmission ended. Velthara stared at the blank screen. Humans had a ship that could cross 3 weeks of space in 5 hours? That was impossible. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical. Commander? Crix was studying his sensors with growing alarm. The fleet's weapon systems are coming online. They watched as weapon ports opened along the hulls of the warships. Turrets emerged and began tracking patterns. The largest ships deployed structures that looked like focusing arrays for energy weapons of unimaginable power. They're not targeting anything, Yarian observed. It looks like calibration tests. One of the medium-sized vessels fired. A beam of energy lanced out into empty space. Where it struck a distant asteroid, the rock didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, converted instantly to energy. That's not possible, Crix breathed. Complete matter-to-energy conversion? The power requirements. Another ship launched a missile. It accelerated impossibly fast, then vanished. A moment later, it reappeared 1,000 kilometers away, then vanished again. It was jumping through hyperspace in microbursts, making it impossible to track or intercept. "Are you seeing this?" Yarian asked. "These weapons are centuries ahead of anything in the galaxy. And these ships are 200 years old," Velthara reminded them. If this is old technology, she didn't finish the thought. They all understood the implication. The fleet continued its tests. Shields that shimmered in and out of phase with reality, point defense systems that created walls of plasma, electronic warfare suites that made ships vanish from sensors entirely. Each demonstration was more impossible than the last. Then the large ship, the Pyrrhic Victory, did something that made them all step back from the viewports. It began to change shape. Its hull flowed like liquid, reconfiguring itself. Weapons retreated while new ones emerged. Armor shifted to cover different sections. In minutes, it had transformed from a battleship into something else entirely. "It's modular," Crix said in amazement. "The entire ship can reconfigure based on mission requirements." "Exodus fleet restoration at 71%, the synthetic voice announced. "Beginning crew revival protocol. Crew?" Velthara spun toward the sensors. "There are people on those ships?" But the life sign readings remained flat. Then Yarian understood. Not revival, construction. They're building a crew. On the nearest ship, they could see movement in the windows, figures walking past. But the sensors still showed no biological life. Androids, Crix realized. They're creating android crews. The figures became more visible as lights came on inside the ships. They looked human, moved like humans, but there was something off about them. They moved too efficiently, too purposefully. No wasted motion, no casual gestures. They were machines in human form. "This is insane," someone said. "An entire fleet run by artificial beings?" "No," Velthara corrected, remembering something, though she couldn't say what. "Not run by them. The artificial beings are just extensions of the fleet's AI. The entire fleet is one vast thinking machine." A proximity alarm sounded. A ship had just appeared near them, impossibly fast. It was sleek and dark, barely visible even to their sensors. Human design, but nothing like the ancient fleet. "I believe Director Chen has arrived," Yarian said unnecessarily. The human ship was beautiful in a terrifying way. It seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Its lines were smooth and organic, as if it had been grown rather than built. It was smaller than their exploration vessel, but every instinct Velthara had screamed that it was far more dangerous. "Commander Velthara," Chen's voice came through the communication system. "Permission to come aboard?" "Granted," Velthara replied. What else could she say? Minutes later, Chen entered their bridge accompanied by 2 humans in black uniforms. They moved with the same efficient grace as the androids in the fleet. Velthara wondered if they were human at all. "Thank you for receiving me," Chen said politely. "I apologize for the confusion. The Exodus fleet was supposed to remain hidden. Your discovery has created a complicated situation. Those ships," Velthara said carefully, "they're weapons." "Terrible weapons," Chen nodded. "Yes, they are. Built in a time when humanity was young and afraid. We've kept them hidden because the galaxy isn't ready to know such things exist. But they're activating now. Why? An unfortunate side effect of your investigation. The fleet's AI detected intrusion and initiated revival protocols." Director Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the luminous current, her presence somehow making the space feel smaller. Behind her, the 2 humans in black uniforms hadn't moved since arriving. They stood like statues, but their eyes tracked everything. "What we tell the Council," Velthara said slowly, "depends on what happens next. That fleet is awake, 317 warships that shouldn't exist. How do we explain that?" Chen walked to the tactical display showing the Exodus fleet. The ships were now fully illuminated, their running lights creating a constellation of human power in the darkness. "We don't explain it. We demonstrate it." "Demonstrate?" Crix's scales shifted nervously. "You mean reveal the fleet to everyone?" "Not just the fleet," Chen replied. "Everything." The bridge fell silent. Yarian was the first to speak. "Everything? All of humanity's hidden weapons?" "No," Chen smiled slightly. "That would end civilization as we know it, but we will show enough. The galaxy has grown comfortable. Some species have begun to think humanity is weak, because we choose trade over conquest. Recent events suggest a reminder is necessary." "What recent events?" Velthara asked. Chen gestured to her aide, who produced a holographic display. It showed a star map with several systems highlighted in red. 3 months ago, the hegemony began moving fleets toward human colony worlds. They claim it's for training exercises. Last month, the Altarian Confederation raised tariffs on human traders by 400%. Small provocations, but they form a pattern. That's just politics, Velthara protested. No one wants war with humanity. No, Chen corrected. No one wanted war with the humans they thought they knew. The merchants. The diplomats. The species that seem to have no real military power. She pointed at the Exodus fleet. It's time to adjust their perception. A new ship appeared on the sensors. Then another. And another. Within minutes, 12 more human vessels had arrived, each one of the same impossible design as Chen's ship. They took positions around the Exodus fleet like shepherds around a flock. Generation 3 vessels, Chen explained. The official reveal of our current naval capacity. When the Council sees these ships, they'll understand that humanity has advanced far beyond their assumptions. This will cause panic, Velthara insisted. Arms races. Alliances against humanity. Or, Chen said calmly, it will cause peace. Real peace, not the temporary cessation of hostilities we have now. Peace through strength. Peace through fear if necessary. The main screen activated. A human male appeared, older, with gray hair and tired eyes. He wore an admiral's uniform. Director Chen, the integration protocol is ready. Awaiting your authorization. Thank you, Admiral Harrison. Proceed. Integration protocol? Velthara asked. Watch, Chen said simply. The 12 modern ships moved toward the Exodus fleet. As they approached, both groups began to change. The ancient ships' hulls flowed like liquid, opening ports and extending connections. The modern ships did the same. When they met, they merged. Old and new technology fused into something greater. Impossible, Crix breathed. The technological gap is too large. The systems are incompatible. Human engineering has always been about adaptability, Chen explained. We built the old fleet to be upgraded. Every generation of weapons we've developed can integrate with the previous ones. The Exodus fleet is no longer obsolete. It's evolved. The transformation was magnificent and terrible. The ancient dreadnoughts absorbed the new technology, their hulls shifting to accommodate advanced systems. Weapons that had been powerful became devastating. Shields that had been strong became impenetrable. In 20 minutes, the 317 old ships had become something new. They gleamed with dark energy, their forms somehow more predatory, more dangerous. The dead fleet had not just awakened. It had been reborn. Fleet integration complete, Admiral Harrison reported. All systems optimal. Awaiting deployment orders. Not deployment, Chen said. Demonstration. Begin the showcase. Space in front of the fleet began to warp. A massive holographic projection appeared, visible from anywhere within a light year. It showed the human fleet in all its terrible glory. Then it showed more. Hidden bases throughout the galaxy revealed themselves in the projection. Defensive platforms around human worlds decloaked. The true human fleet, thousands of ships appeared in the display. This projection is being broadcast to every major world in the galaxy, Chen explained. Every government, every military command, every species that might have thought humanity was weak is seeing this. You're threatening everyone, Velthara said. No, we're informing everyone. There's a difference. Chen turned to face her directly. For 2 centuries, humanity has protected its true strength to avoid causing fear. But that secrecy has been mistaken for weakness. Some species have begun to think they could push humanity aside. This demonstration corrects that mistake. The projection changed. It now showed Earth itself. But this wasn't the Earth Velthara knew from images, a blue and green world of commerce and culture. This Earth bristled with defenses. Orbital platforms the size of moons. Defense grids that could vaporize fleets. The planet itself glowed with the energy of shields that could withstand stellar impacts. We call it Fortress Earth, Chen said. The single most defended location in the galaxy. Any species that thinks to strike at humanity's heart will find it protected by weapons you can't imagine. Weapons you promised never to build, Yerian said quietly. The treaties limit weapons we can deploy openly. They say nothing about defensive preparations. Every weapon you see is technically defensive. They only activate if humanity is attacked first. Chen's smile was cold. Of course, our definition of attack is quite broad. The communication system came alive with signals. The Galactic Council was calling. The hegemony was calling. Every major power was trying to contact them. The demonstration had achieved its goal. The galaxy was paying attention. Chen accepted one call. The image of High Counselor Zeta appeared, the ancient being's tentacles writhing in agitation. Director Chen explained this display immediately. These weapons violate every principle of civilized interaction. High Counselor, Chen replied calmly. These weapons have existed for 2 centuries. In that time, humanity has never used them aggressively. We've been the galaxy's most peaceful species. That hasn't changed. You've been hiding apocalyptic weapons while pretending friendship. We've been ensuring our survival while offering genuine partnership. The two aren't mutually exclusive. Chen gestured to the fleet. These ships will return to dormancy once our demonstration is complete. But now the galaxy knows they exist, knows that humanity is not prey. Another figure appeared on the screen, General Krathos of the hegemony. His forearms were crossed in anger. This is provocation. The hegemony will not tolerate such threats. General, Chen's voice hardened. Your fleets near our colonies have 72 hours to withdraw beyond the agreed borders. This is not a negotiation. You dare threaten the hegemony? In response, Chen simply nodded to Admiral Harrison. One ship in the Exodus fleet, a medium cruiser, fired a single weapon. The projectile vanished into hyperspace. 3 seconds later, it reappeared at the edge of the system where it detonated. The explosion was visible to every sensor in the sector, a miniature star that burned for exactly 10 seconds before vanishing. That was one ship, Chen said quietly. One weapon. We have thousands of ships and millions of weapons. The hegemony has 3 options: withdraw, negotiate, or cease to exist. Choose. General Krathos's image disappeared without a word. High Counselor Zeta remained. Director Chen, this changes everything. The balance of power, the entire structure of galactic civilization. Changes, yes. Ends, no. Chen's expression softened slightly. Humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We don't want to conquer or control. We want to trade, to explore, to grow alongside other species. But we will not be threatened. We will not be victims. And we will not apologize for being strong. The Council will need to convene. This revelation requires discussion. Of course. Humanity will send representatives. We have nothing to hide anymore. Chen ended the call and turned back to Velthara. Well, Commander, you wanted to report to the Council. Now you have something significant to report. Velthara stared at the human woman. You planned this. You wanted us to find the fleet. Chen tilted her head. Did we? Or did chance bring you here at exactly the right moment? When the galaxy needed reminding that humanity is not to be trifled with. You couldn't have predicted our route, couldn't we? We've been watching every exploration vessel for decades, calculating probabilities. We knew someone would find the fleet eventually. We simply encouraged the right someone at the right time. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just prepared for war. They had been manipulating events, guiding the galaxy toward this moment of revelation. What happens now? Velthara asked. Now? Now the galaxy adjusts to reality. Some species will fear us. Others will seek alliance. A few might even test our resolve. But none will mistake us for weak again. Chen moved toward the exit. The Exodus fleet will remain active for 1 week. Long enough for everyone to understand what they're seeing. Then it will disperse to classified locations, visible enough to deter, hidden enough to mystify.